If you ever wake up at a sleepover and count 4 sleeping bags instead of 5, do not go looking for the 5th person. Zip yourself back in, close your eyes, and wait for the sun. I didn't know that rule when I was 12. I know it now, and I need to tell you exactly what happened, because for 11 years I told myself it was a dream, until 3 weeks ago when I found the photograph. Let's get into it. My name doesn't matter. What matters is that when I was 12 years old, growing up in a small town where the nearest streetlight was half a mile from my house, my best friend Dana invited 4 of us to sleep over at her family's farmhouse for her birthday. Dana, me, a girl named Priya, a girl named Kaylee, and a quiet girl who just moved to town named Renata. Renata was the one nobody really knew. She didn't talk much. She had this habit of staring at empty corners of the room like she was listening to something. Dana invited her because her mom said to be nice to the new girl. None of us wanted her there, if I'm honest. Kids are cruel like that. We didn't know yet that the cruelty would matter. The farmhouse belonged to Dana's grandmother, who had passed away that spring. It sat at the end of a gravel road, surrounded by dead cornfields, with a barn that leaned so far to one side it looked like it was trying to whisper something to the ground. Dana's parents dropped us off with sleeping bags, junk food, and a video camera. This was back when camcorders still used tapes, and told us they'd be back at 9 the next morning. We didn't think anything of the house. Old houses creak. Old houses smell like dust and mothballs. We were 12 and we were free, and we screamed and laughed and ate popcorn until our stomachs hurt. Then Dana suggested the game. It was called Doorway. Dana said her older cousin taught it to her. The rules were simple, and looking back, insultingly simple for something that would end the way it did. One person stands in a doorway at midnight, alone, with all the lights off. Everyone else stays in a different room, silent, counting to 100 out loud together, slow, all at once, like a chant. The person in the doorway is supposed to feel like someone is standing behind them. If they turn around before the counting finishes, they lose. If they make it to 100 without turning around, they win and the game ends. Dana said her cousin swore that if you did it in a house where someone had died, something would actually be behind you by the time you got to 100. Dana's grandmother had died in that house 4 months earlier, in the room right next to the doorway Dana picked. We should have stopped there. I think some small animal part of my brain knew we should stop there. But we were 12, and it was midnight, and there is nothing in the world more powerful than 4 girls daring each other not to be scared. Kaylee went first. She made it to 60 and burst out laughing, said she felt someone breathing on her neck, and ran into the kitchen giggling so hard she couldn't finish her count. Priya went next, and got through the whole 100, pale and shaking, saying she heard footsteps behind her but refused to turn around because she wasn't going to lose to a stupid game. Then it was Renata's turn. She didn't say anything. She just walked to the doorway, back straight, arms at her sides, and stood there facing the dark hallway like she'd done it 1,000 times before. We started counting. 1, 2, 3, somewhere around 30. The temperature in the house dropped enough that I remember watching my own breath fog in the kitchen light. Nobody said anything about it. We just counted louder. Around 60, Dana's camcorder, which had been sitting on the counter, recording us for her birthday video, turned itself off, not the batteries dying. It made the little click-where sound it made when someone pressed the power button. There was no one near it. We kept counting because stopping felt more dangerous than finishing. At 91, Renata started laughing. Not a kid's laugh. Low, and it didn't match her mouth. I was watching her from the side and her lips barely moved, but the sound kept coming, longer than a breath should let it. We hit 100, and every single one of us screamed at the same time, because in the half-second of silence after the count ended, we all heard a second voice finish the number with us. A voice that wasn't Renata's, wasn't any of ours, coming from somewhere behind her in that pitch-black hallway. Renata turned around smiling, and calmly asked why we were all crying. We didn't sleep after that. We piled into Dana's room, dragged her dresser in front of the door, and lay in our sleeping bags in a tight square, backs to each other, facing outward, like we were defending a camp. Around 2 a.m., Dana shook me awake. She was staring at the door. "Count the bags," she whispered. I did. Kaylee's bag, Priya's bag, mine. Dana's empty because she was awake beside me. Renata's bag was empty too. We checked the hallway. We checked the bathroom. We checked the kitchen where the camcorder sat dead on the counter. We found Renata standing in the doorway of the grandmother's old bedroom, the room right next to the one where we'd played the game. Just standing there in the dark, facing in, not moving. Dana called her name. Renata didn't turn around. Dana called again, louder, and Renata's shoulders started shaking like she was crying. And she said, in a voice that dropped an octave lower than any 12-year-old's voice should go, "She wants one of you to stay." Then she turned around, and her eyes... I need you to understand I have told myself for 11 years that I imagined this, that it was the dark, that kids panic and misremember. Her eyes were the wrong color. Not colored wrong. Wrong in the way a photograph looks wrong when the negative is inverted. Dark where the white should be, pale where the iris should be. We didn't scream. I think we were too scared to scream. Kaylee grabbed Renata's arm and pulled her back to the room, and Renata came easily, like a doll. And by the time we got her under the light of Dana's bedside lamp, her eyes were just eyes again. Brown. Normal. She blinked at us like she'd just woken up and asked why everyone looked so scared. None of us slept the rest of that night. We sat up, all 5 of us, backs against the wall, staring at that closed door until the window turned gray with morning. Dana's parents picked us up at 9. We told them we stayed up late watching movies. None of us said a word about the game, not to each other, not to anyone, for 11 years. Renata's family moved away 2 months later. I never saw her again. I want to be clear that I am not saying anything happened to her. I am saying I don't know what happened to her, and that not knowing has sat in my chest for over a decade. 3 weeks ago, Dana's mother was cleaning out the farmhouse to sell it, and she found a box of old camcorder tapes in the grandmother's closet. She sent one to Dana labeled, in Dana's own 12-year-old handwriting, "Sleepover, do not watch alone." None of us remembered writing that. Dana had it digitized. Most of it was exactly what you'd expect. For girls laughing, eating popcorn, singing into a hairbrush. Cuts off, like I told you, right around the time the camera powered itself off during the game. Except it doesn't actually cut to black. There are 4 seconds, Dana counted them, frame by frame, more times than I think is good for her, 4 seconds after the power off click. Where the screen isn't black. It's the hallway. Renata standing in the doorway exactly like we remembered. And behind her, filling the dark of the hallway from floor to ceiling, is a shape none of us can explain. Because a camcorder that has been switched off should not be recording anything at all. Dana sent the 4 seconds to me. I watched it once. I have not been able to watch it again. I don't know why the tape kept those 4 seconds. I don't know what stood behind Renata, or why it wanted one of us, or why it let us go. I don't know if Renata's family moved away because of something ordinary, or because of something else. What I know is this. I still count sleeping bags before I fall asleep anywhere that isn't my own home. I know that if you're ever the last one awake at a sleepover, and you feel the urge to check the doorway at the end of the hall, don't. Just count the bags and go back to sleep.